Let's get to it. The cities of Denver, Aurora, and Boulder could lose federal grants over how they handle undocumented immigrants due to a sanctuary cities executive order issued by President Trump this week. Denver and Aurora mayors both asserted that their municipalities are not sanctuary cities. However, Boulder has embraced the label wholeheartedly, and the ACLU has also promised legal action. Patty, I don't know if we're just dicing up words here when it comes to the definition of sanctuary cities, but it seems that's going to come into play. What do you think?
Well, and we're going to be debating it here for a while, because back when Wellington Webb was mayor, there was indeed a proclamation that Denver was a sanctuary city. So is that still extant? But that's not really the point here. The point is, who thought when we sat here a week ago that Donald Trump would take off so quickly with so many crazy executive orders that I would be sitting here agreeing with Lindsey Graham for one of the first times in my life, because he's defending the right to drink Corona and tequila without a 20% tax. You have to think about not just the sanctuary city issue, but $15 billion to build that wall, which no matter how Mexico is coerced into paying for it, Congress is still going to have to come up with the money first. So you think, what could $15 billion do to actually do a sensible immigration policy to make sure the DACA kids are able to stay in this country, to make sure that that America is still the land of the free and the home of the brave, and that people who need refuge can come here? Let's put that $15 billion to something better, and let's really keep America great.
David, I don't. Sanctuary cities is one of those terms that I'm not sure has a legal definition. You're one of our two esteemed lawyers in the panel. I will lean on you. Is that going to come into question as now that there's an executive order about it?
Well, you can call it anything you want, but it is primarily state or local government refusal to cooperate or assist in the enforcement of federal immigration laws. Thanks to the 7-2 pro-states' rights win in the Obamacare cases in 2012 on the issue where the Obama administration and Congress wanted to cut off all traditional Medicaid funding to states unless they doubled and greatly expanded Medicare with a completely different thing that doubled Medicare spending. The Supreme Court 7-2 ruled for our side, which is you can't do that. And that is the strongest defense that these sanctuary or whatever they are cities are going to have. Part of the Chief Justice Roberts' decision in that case affirms that, yeah, the federal government can give money in a conditional grant, but there's particular rules on it. And one is, if there's conditions, besides, just here's the money, go have fun with it and spend it for the following purposes, but also we're going to cut it off if you don't do something else, that's got to be clearly expressed. I don't believe there are few, if any, current federal grants that have a clearly expressed condition that says you have to help enforce immigration law or we're not going to give you the money. Now, future grants could do that, but in terms of this, those would be appropriations enacted by Congress. For the grants that are out there, I think there's actually very little ability in terms of this executive order when it's implemented, presumably according to law, for any grants to be clawed back by inventing conditions after the creation of the grant.
Eric, we've already seen a community in Miami-Dade County caving to the idea, saying, okay, well, we'll start enforcing the laws. Do you think we're going to see more cities fight and maybe have legal action like we're probably going to see out of Boulder, saying we'll fight this with the ACLU, or more cities like Miami-Dade County that will just go ahead and cave to the issue?
I think it's going to depend. My prediction over the short term would be fight. Over the long term, I think cities will have to see how much money we're talking about and how serious and orchestrated and coordinated the federal government is in terms of actually withholding the money. Is it symbolism or is it real, and how real is real? I'm with Patty in the sense of this whole 20% tariff tax, call it whatever you want. I don't understand in terms of President Trump's rhetoric, or then candidate Trump's rhetoric about making Mexico pay for the wall. I don't understand how a tariff is making Mexico pay for the wall when it is only going to get paid and reflected in the cost of consumer goods in this country, whether those are cervezas or televisions or automobiles or whatever. Obviously, if you're slapping a tariff on it, it gets reflected in the price of what we all buy. So I think that is sort of a phony way of trying to justify a campaign pledge that Mexico will pay for this wall. I'm worried that if we put ourselves 10, 20 years in the future, or the 50th anniversary of Inside Out, and I hope by that point we have different panelists here, but come that point in time, I'm not sure this era is going to be remembered all that well. I think one of the criticisms, and obviously it's important to me as a first-generation Jewish, firstborn son of 2 German Jewish immigrants to this country, is when you look at the late 1930s, this country was awfully sparse with its welcome mat to refugees who desperately needed a landing pad. I think we will go down in the same kind of historical categorization as that era. That is not an era you want to be compared to or remembered for. The notion of all this Mexican immigration has really been a misnomer for the last several years. There's as many people moving south as moving north. Statistically, it is really Central American refugee escaping gang violence, escaping political repression, not in Mexico, but further south in Central America, and obviously in other parts of the world as well.
Penn, do you think this, whether it's a sanctuary cities point or all the other stances on immigration, can become a significant rallying cry for Democrats that are now in the minority?
Not only do I think it'll become a significant rallying cry for Democrats, I think it'll be a significant rallying cry for a bunch of people. And a point Eric raised, I think, is important in this conversation because it's a subtlety that's lost on many. Despite all the blustering and everything, it's important to note that immigration from Mexico is less and less the issue. It's more immigration from Central America, which in the minds of many evidences why some people say this is all racist, because the wall isn't even going to address the real issue. The real issue is people coming from countries other than Mexico, fleeing criminal activity, dictatorships and violence. And so no one's talking about that. I think it's ironic that you've got a president now who was so critical of President Obama and the use of executive orders, and he spent the first week cranking out executive orders like 40 going west. I mean, he's having signing ceremonies and he's just throwing them out on the table. In contrast to Congress, which has not done a thing in the last week. I don't even know how many days they've spent in session, except they're going to photo ops and talking about this president. The 20% tariff, it's insane in the fact that in order to do that and claim that Mexico's paying for a wall, actually all of us U.S. taxpayers and consumers will be paying for the wall when we pay the additional 20% price. So now this president is going to have to concoct some sort of weird tax rebate mechanism to try to give us back our money, but then that puts a hole in the budget. So how do you get money from Mexico? No one's talking about that. No one's explained it. And I submit it's because they never thought through the fact that they'd have to govern based on some of the claims they made during the campaign.